Hey everybody, this is Kai from the Techno Funk Boy, or you might know me as Crethin Damithier from the Dice Dreary podcast. So I wanted to, we're doing kind of like a series of videos of as we're preparing the soundtrack for the Dice Dreary program for release of kind of the stuff I'm working on. We're really close to the date on this, and I'm kind of putting in the final mixes, and so I wanted to kind of give give an idea of what of what I'm doing in order to kind of get these songs prepared. So this is actually one that I had to work on a lot because this was the song, the kind of street song for Valaki, and I haven't even named it for the album yet. This was supposed to be a throwaway song. This was not supposed to be on the soundtrack. It was just supposed to be some kind of filler, and I did this little thing on the guitar, and I put it aside, and that was it. And then later, I think maybe even the next day, I was like, wait a minute. I kind of got an idea for like this cool like jam and cello part for this, and let me put it together. And when I did, I loved it, and so I was like, okay, well then this does need to go on the soundtrack because I think it's really great. There was a couple of problems. A couple of problems. First of all, it was recorded as a throwaway thing, and so I didn't. The guitar was tuned to itself properly, but it was a little flat. By a fraction of a step, and it wasn't going to be a big deal, so because it was a guitar only song. But then when I added the cello, then it really came through, and I actually had to change the pitch on the guitar to get it in tune. Well, for the album version, I didn't want to do that, and I also wanted to do a little bit more stuff with it to be kind of cool. And so what I did was I re-recorded it, but this time I recorded the guitars twice, put them in separate channels, and then I put some reverb on them. So there's a couple of things that I'm doing to the soundtrack when it comes to stereo sound. The soundtrack on the podcast is 99% mono. But that's because that's just, this is background music for a podcast that you're listening to in the car. The depth of stereo sound is just not going to come through, and I'd rather you actually be able to make sense of the music than to really study it and get the nuance. But if you're listening as an album, I'd like the nuance to be there. And so a lot of these tracks I am making into stereo tracks, and one thing I really like to do when it comes to reverb, and this is an old studio trick. When you're putting in reverb, is to put just the basic sound in one channel, like the left channel, and then you put all the reverb in the right channel. So like when you listen to it together, it sounds like kind of like an instrument with reverb. But when you have headphones on, or when you're listening in a good stereo and like really paying attention to the separate channels, you can actually hear them as separate things. And it kind of, to me, it kind of sounds like, I'm playing over here and you're like over here and you're getting an echo of it over here. Another way it's kind of been described is it's almost like adding like a pad sound to the song in the other channel. And so this is kind of what I'll show you real quick. So here's kind of, here's the guitar part. This is all the guitar, the two guitars and the two reverb channels. All right, so it's pretty simple, right? So we're going to kind of narrow this down to one of those two guitars. And yeah, it's kind of, they're playing the same part, it's just doubled. So it's the same thing, it's just one of them. But and this is not going to come through very well because I could not figure out how to record this thing in stereo, and I apologize for that, but we're just going to listen to it one at a time. So like here is the bass guitar sound. Okay? And here's it with the reverb. All right, you see here, yeah, like we're getting a little depth. So here's the reverb by itself. You can still hear the strumming, but it really kind of sounds like a pad sound coming through. And so You're not going to be able to really distinguish it on here, but when you get the album, what you know, if you listen to it with headphones, what you're going to hear, and in this song, one guitar's in one channel and its reverb's in the other, then the other guitar is in the other channel and its reverb is in the first. And so you're actually getting playing guitar and reverb in both channels, but they're different. You know, they're crisscrossed. And so what you're going to hear if you're listening on good stereo or with headphones is you're going to hear that kind of echo quality, that pad quality. It just to me adds like an extra layer of depth to what you're already doing with the reverb. And so we use this a lot in this album. This is one of my favorite things to do as far as like, you know, the recording side of things. I think it's a lot of fun. So stay tuned. We should have a release date here very soon, and we're really getting close to the end, and so we'll talk to you soon.